Elden Ring, Game of the Year. Yet, some people hate it and love it at the same time, since the game's design is not so traditional. In this video, without spoilers, I will tell you about the plot, game world design, progression, combat, looking like an idiot, is the game difficult, and why am I jumping on giant penises. The plot is the most debated game's feature. Some people might even say that the Elden Ring doesn't have a plot, and there is some truth to that. The game begins by telling the player about shattering of the Elden Ring. There was an order before the shattering, but now, after its destruction, every shard bearer that possesses part of the broken ring is fighting others trying to collect all pieces together. The player is one of many tarnished that was summoned to collect the pieces and restore the Elden Ring as well.
Tarnished, are we? Come to the lands between for the Elden Ring?
Summoned from death, but it wasn't death, it was more of an exile, and the Elden Ring is not a ring. If it sounds complicated, it's okay. The plot is intentionally vague by design. When I started the game, I was still wondering what does it mean to be an Elden Lord, and why would I want to restore a ring in the first place if its shattering was something that brought me back to life. This is the main reason why most people love or hate the game. You see, the game writers wanted to create a story that can be interpreted by players themselves. There are many various theories trying to explain game's lore, often contradicting each other. Furthermore, the lore is not explained in a traditional way for video games. You would expect NPCs telling you a story, watching a cutscene, or at least reading a letter, but in Elden Ring, a huge amount of information is hidden in item descriptions. Every item player picks up reveals a little bit of lore behind that item. It's essentially a piece of a very big puzzle. And reading descriptions is not exactly the most exciting way to learn about the game. This is why many people criticize Elden Ring's storytelling. If you don't have hundreds of hours to explore every corner of the map, pick up every item and read their descriptions, you can hardly understand game's lore. But the worst thing is that even if you do collect all the information you can, including data mining, it still can be interpreted differently by different people. It doesn't mean that the game doesn't have classical story arcs. There are NPCs that you will meet on your way that give you various tasks and rewards you for completing them. Most of them have interesting stories with unexpected twists and different choices at the end. But honestly, I cannot imagine a casual gamer completing their stories without looking up what to do on the internet. There are no quest logs or markers on your map that would tell you what to do. In order to progress their story, you might need to visit a specific location that can be easily missed, or use a certain magic skill that you might not even be able to use because you play as a warrior. It feels like the game is designed for the community to find hidden secrets and not for a single player who is just trying to have a fun adventure. Game world design is familiar to everyone who played open world games before. There is one huge map where you fight enemies and sometimes die, and plenty of entrances into catacombs or caves, which are mini locations on their own, where you also fight enemies but die significantly more often. Basically, every corner of a map is filled with points of interest. It could be a shack with an NPC, a caravan transporting valuable loot, boss or entrance into a dungeon. In order to keep different points of interest somewhat separated, without making the map too big, the game has a lot of cliffs. They can be reached by jumping into sprint springs or with the help of sticking out giant, tombstones. All over the map you'll find sites of grace. By discovering them, you will be able to fast travel here anytime. Using these sites is always a trade-off. Here you can fully heal and refill your health, mana, or maybe there's some stronger beverage in those flasks, but in return, all enemies except bosses will respawn. This puts the world of Elden Ring into a state of grim, endless fight and death. Or as we gamers call it, legal infinite experience farming glitch. Maybe the world around you mostly stays the same, but the player fights and dies, and eventually your attitude towards the world also changes as you get stronger. The idea of becoming stronger through sacrifice appears in the game over and over again. The player is expected to die many times. There is no difficulty setting, and the game developers have a reputation of making hard games. Since I'm not a fan of Dark Souls, before starting Elden Ring I was worried that it might be a bit too much for me, but for first couple of bosses a friendly NPCs will help you, and later on you gain levels, learn skills, find better gear and upgrade it. But most importantly, you can find various summons called Spirit Ashes that might be as powerful as the player itself, making fights much easier. Honestly, if it wasn't an official feature, it would feel like cheating. Additionally, there are respawn points next to every boss room, so after failure, you won't have to run far in order to try again. I found the game to be manageable, even for casuals. Elden Ring's combat is one of my favorite aspects of the game, especially since you can customize your character's build however you want. There are plenty of weapons to choose from. Swords, great swords, very great swords, flails, spikes, halberds, whips, hammers, ranged weapons, and of course magic. Heals, buffs, anything you want. Most of the weapon types have different movesets, some special weapons have unique skills, and not special weapons can be customized to your liking by putting on them one of almost 100 generic skills called Ashes of War. Basically, you are free to play however you like, equipping anything you like and play how you want it. Like ranged swordsman, or melee shield bashing something I don't even know how to call it. Technically, you don't even need to wear armor, since attacks can be avoided by dodge rolling. And considering that half of the armor in this game will make your character look like an idiot, I understand why some people might not like to wear it. Overall, I enjoyed the Elden Ring. At first I thought I'll just complete the main story and move on, but from the beginning I felt encouraged to move away from the main roads and explore every corner of the map. What I found there always felt rewarding and worth the time spent. Usually it was a weapon, talisman, skill or spell that could be helpful later on. And combat, my favorite part of the gameplay, feels always risky. Most enemies die in couple of hits, but so do you. Out-leveling bosses or usual monsters makes it easier and safer to kill them, but fights don't become boring since they can still stun lock and quickly kill the player if you lose vigilance. The gameplay feels great, 9 out of 10. While the storytelling is a completely different story. Quests do not guide the player through game. You have to explore to find the story, or what most of the people will do, go online and read a walkthrough guide to know where to go and what to do. Which is not only annoying but also breaks immersion. Even if the majority of quests are interesting to complete, having no clear guidance and being forced to check guides will turn off most people. Storyline? 3 out of 10. After completing the game, Elden Ring offers you to start New Game Plus, where you basically start the new game, but it's not so bad as it sounds, since you continue leveling your character and keep all the equipment and skills you unlocked previously, while enemies also become more challenging. Considering that there are many weapon and skill combinations, you can choose to try a completely new build and complete questlines differently, unlocking different rewards that you missed in previous playthrough. Compared to many other games that are more linear, replayability of the Elden Ring is not too bad. 7 out of 10. Thanks for watching, have a nice day, dodge roll out of enemy attacks, and make sure you don't look like an idiot while you jump on big, massive, giant